this month at the Lithgow Public Library in Augusta, Maine. The book of choice was Olga Dies Dreaming by Xochitl Gonzales. I have no idea how to pronounce that, but there you go. That's her name, and I'll even show you what she looks like so I don't feel too bad about myself. There. Fantastic book. I can't wait to review it with my fellow book lovers at the library. Alright, so as you can tell by the way I absolutely hammered this poor writer's first name in the intro, this is my shitty book review channel, and I review really good books, but I do a terrible job at it. So I've been told by some of my fans, I've been told by some of the writers I've reviewed, so why not own it, right? I love good books, but I'm not the best at reviewing them. However, I try my best. So, again, my wife and I would decide to pick this book up for the books club over at the Lithgow Public Library here in Augusta, Maine. And we weren't disappointed. We can see why it was chosen for the book of the month. However, I'm really confused about the title. I got to the end wondering what on earth she dies dreaming of. She didn't even die. So I was really confused what the title was all about. But anyways, that's kind of what's cool about fiction, and this is literary fiction, my favorite genre. It's got a lot of praise in the back of it. She definitely is amazing, and one day we were reading it at our local coffee shop, and the barista came up to us while we were reading and said, "Oh my God, I almost picked up that book. I love the cover. Should I?" We both suggested that, yes, you go back to the store and pick it up because it was really well written. It was a lot of fun. It was kind of about this woman living in Brooklyn, a Puerto Rican woman, but she's not from Puerto Rico. She's of Puerto Rican descent, and that's a huge part of the story because they still consider Puerto Rico their island, her and her brother. Now, her and her brother, their father died when they were very young. He died of AIDS because he was a drug addict and used to inject heroin, and he also had some serious issues with crack and cocaine, and as an unfortunate result, he died while they were very young. Also, unfortunately, they never really knew their mother. She disappeared on them because she was an extreme radical who lives in the mountains of Puerto Rico and is trying to liberate Puerto Rico from the white colonialists of America. So be prepared for that if that's not something you're into. It is a little bit of an extreme political book. So there might be some issues that could trigger you if you're sensitive to that type of thing. I, however, I'm not that sensitive. I get it. There's just a lot of people out there that have an issue with America, have an issue with white people in particular. I don't take it personally. It is just what it is. However, the characters in this book, with the exception of the mother and her radical entourage down there in Puerto Rico, did not seem to have an issue with colonialism. In fact, they kind of partook in it because Olga's brother is a congressman. He represents his local district, and he represents Brooklyn. And there's a lot of things he's trying to do for his community. A lot of them are brown-skinned people in particular. Olga dives headfirst into white culture. And later on, she realizes that it's not exactly the kind of thing she wants because white culture started really invading her hometown of Brooklyn. And she'd like to see some of her friends and her family and that's the life that she knew growing up instead of it being kind of reshaped into a white vision. So I understand that. I really do understand where she's coming from because I suppose white people can kind of relate when we see people coming over the border. There's a lot of people that go, well, I don't want to see my landscape change either. So I get it. Life's just going to change. The landscape is going to change no matter what we do. Could be white people doing it. Could be brown people. You can never predict history, right? It's just an interesting take on the book because right now it's instead of white people complaining that the place is looking more brown, it's brown people complaining that the place is looking more white. So it was an interesting book for that fact alone. What really made it interesting was the personal journey of Olga throughout this book. She's working with a member of the Russian mob because she owns a wedding business where she puts together wedding events for really, really rich, mostly white clientele. And through her mob contacts, she's kind of learned how to skim off the top and how to overcharge for product and how to hoard product and sell it at cost at other weddings, make it look like she's giving them a discount when she's really just giving them stuff that somebody else paid for. And there's some LBGQ related issues in this book that also might intrigue some people, but it's rather light on that. So again, if that's something that triggers you, it's light. I don't think you're going to be overwhelmed by it. It was just kind of fascinating to see the journey of someone in this day and age who is still in the closet, being as free and open as it is to be homosexual or even transgender, or people identify as cats these days. Nobody cares that you're gay anymore, but in certain positions in our society, in certain cultures, even within America, certain races, it's still a bit of a taboo subject, so I found that fascinating. So basically this girl, Olga, woman I should say, she's in her mid-40s. Her business is doing pretty darn good. However, she's at one of these crossroads in life where she's just not feeling it anymore. She doesn't find weddings exciting, has never been married herself, doesn't really have any interest in the lives of her clients, and that's what really comes to a head towards, I'd say, the middle of the book. I'd say the inciting incident was really when she's kind of on a date. It wasn't really a date, but it was someone she was kind of using just for companionship. She wanted to go to this one particular party ever since she was in her early 20s and finally landed a way to go, but it was with a guy who was trying to win her over for all the wrong reasons. He even left his wife for her. And she happened to know the gentleman that was waiting on the guests at this particular party, and it wasn't his forte. He was just doing it to make ends meet because his partner recently died. And when she went to go help him after he fell and spilled a big old tray of food and dishes all over the floor, her natural instinct told her to help this gentleman and to take control of the situation, to which the guy who was trying to court her, very rich and powerful man, ended up seeing her as kind of a maid and was hoping to change that in her, and was wondering why she never introduced him to her family, and he assumed it was because she was afraid he'd be embarrassed by them and wanted to assure her that that wouldn't be the case. He was trying to rise her up above maid status, someone working in the service industry, and he didn't feel it was okay for her to be ashamed of her family, and she was really taken aback by that because she's like, what makes you think it's the way you see my family that I'm worried about? I'm worried about the way my family's going to see you. So that really puts some things into perspective too, because like a lot of rich people, I imagine, especially people who are born and raised that way, don't realize that people that are middle class, working class, and poor class, they look down on rich people. It was just another interesting take. So this book was dealing with a lot of issues, and it was all dealing with around the time of Hurricane Maria that tore through Puerto Rico, and that really opened up some fresh wounds for poor Olga and her brother, especially considering that their radical mother was living there in the woods in a compound that she had constructed herself in preparation for the liberation of Puerto Rico. It was just a fantastic, fantastic take on a really bunch of touchy subjects, and I highly recommend it. That's about it for this video. I just don't see any more I could possibly say about it, but you guys, thank you very much. You could have tuned into any book review channel on the internet. You decided to tune into mine. I thank the hell out of you for it. Peace.